Splitbee Analytics, your friendly analytics and conversion platform. I have been using Splitbee for about 4 months now, and it has been a really great experience. So originally I came from Google Analytics. Google Analytics, as most of you probably know, is pretty good. However, it can be slow, meaning the actual panel where you see all your data and the actual script tag itself that you put on your site. And a lot of times there's too much data and it's hard to sift through and work with. Now Splitbee takes all of that and improves upon it. Some of the way that it does that is it makes it a lot faster, the UI is a lot quicker to actually see your analytics, and the script tag that you put in your website is a lot smaller. Additionally, it comes with more features. For example, if we take a look at their dashboard here, you can see an analytics panel, but below that we have users, funnels, automations, and experiments. All of these are distinct features that you can add to your site. Let's take a look at the demo application. So here's what the dashboard looks like. As you can see, this is attached to this website here. Right off the bat, you can see all of your unique users and your page views. Now, again, comparing this to Google Analytics, to see page views, you have to dig a little bit. It takes a couple of clicks to actually get there. Whereas here in Splitbee, it's right in front of you on the top right. Below that, you can see all of your top pages that have been viewed and the sources. To the bottom right, you can see what countries that your users have come from, along with the browser and device. And then in this tab here, the Events tab, we can add custom events that handle basically any action you want. An email sign up, a button click, a page, a view, really anything you want to handle here you can do. Typing in a form, any of that can be done. Now back at the top here, you can see that we are 5 users online now. So if I click that, I can actually see all of the live users. And you can go in and you can follow what they're doing. For example, this user is on the home page. Now this user here was on the home page for 15 seconds, then navigated to the docs page. So I just navigated to this page. As you can see, I'm on the index page. Now, if I go ahead and click Make Me a Toast, you can see a toast pops up, and we see the event on the screen. So this is those events that I was talking about. In this case, there is a custom event for when this button is clicked, the event is triggered. In this case, just a simple trigger toast event. But if we scroll down, there's more examples we can do. So if I choose dark mode, that triggers a dark mode toast, and you see that is here as well. Trigger toast, dark mode. Whereas this one was CTA, so call to action, the first one. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to first add Splitbee Analytics to a website, then we're going to add a custom event, and finally we're going to add an automation using Notion. So we're going to take that custom event and send some data to Notion so we can actually store that and look at it. One thing to note, I'll be adding this to a React-based Next.js website, specifically a website that I've already used on my channel. It is the personal website Chakra tutorial series. In that series, I made a personal website using Next.js, Chakra UI, and Next.mdx Remote for the blog. So feel free to navigate to this GitHub link. It'll be in the description. Go ahead and clone this repository so you can have the same code I have, or you can use your own website. Regardless of what framework you're using, or what your site is, or what content you have, this process will be relatively the same. But if you want, you can clone this website, or you can actually follow along with the entire series and build this site from scratch. This video here will actually be the final video in that series, because in that series we have the site built, we deployed it to Vercel, and the one thing we're missing is analytics. So this video will finish off this series. So the first thing you're going to want to do is navigate to Splitbee's website. Create an account if you do not have one. Then you're going to want to create a project. Now this project name can be whatever you want. I'll just name this Personal Website, Next.js, and Chakra UI. Now for the URL, you will need to have that ready. So if your website is not deployed yet, that's fine. You can always, actually you might be able to create a project and then come back and add it, but you're going to want to have a URL eventually. For me, that's going to be the site deployed to Vercel. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and paste that in here. then we can create the project. So first we are brought to the blank analytics screen with nothing here, and it says waiting for data. So it is very simple to add Splitbee to our app. The only thing we have to do is copy and paste this script tag. So inside of your project, I'm using Next.js, so this script tag is going to go inside of _document.js. Inside of there, we're going to throw it inside of the head tag. That right there is all we need to do. So once I have that, I'm going to go into my source control and push this to GitHub. Now because I am deployed to Vercel, which is connected to my GitHub repository, once this commit is pushed to GitHub like I just did, Vercel will automatically know that something has changed, we have a new commit, and it will create a deployment. So here it is on my Vercel dashboard, and if I go to deployments, you can see it is deploying right now as we speak, 40 seconds into the build. And I can even view more in this deployment, see what's happening. But anyways, let's wait for this to finish, and then we can navigate to the site and hopefully see some data. Alright, so our status is now ready. So if I go here, and I refresh the site, we should see some data coming through. And we do. Look at that, we have one online. So let me click this, and here we go, I get myself. Okay, so this confused me for a bit, how I came from Vercel.com, because as you saw, I just refreshed this page, but I am realizing that I actually did click on a Vercel link if I go all the way back. That's how I originally got to this site. So that's why that is there. So as you see, I just navigated to blog, and that should be reflected here. There we go. So that's pretty cool. Everything is working as it should be. And eventually, once you get enough data, it will show here as a bar chart. So let me refresh this, get that top section out. All the data is propagating down here. And there we go. So if we change this to the last hour, you'll see the data coming through here. And in 24 hours, we can see that as well. So I don't know about you, but for me, this was a lot quicker and a lot easier to add to my site than Google Analytics was. I mean, this entire process, even without following a video tutorial, only took me 5 minutes tops. Whereas Google Analytics definitely took me a lot longer than that. So now that we have analytics, let's go ahead and add an event. So you'll notice on the left here, there's no tab for an event. And that confused me a bit in the beginning. And that is because events are not created in this admin panel. Events are created by you in code. So to find events, you're going to want to go to the documentation. And inside of user tracking, you'll see event tracking. So you can track events using JavaScript like this, or by using HTML elements like this. So in this video, I'm going to use HTML elements, but if you want to use JavaScript, that's totally fine. So let's go back inside of our app, and we need to find an event that we want to track. If I go home, I'm going to add a button at the bottom here saying view resume. Now this button will not do anything. However, in theory, it would allow you to view your resume. So I'm going to add a Splitbee event onto this, and whenever the user clicks it, that means somebody viewed the resume. So using HTML elements, we can add that event like this. Data Splitbee event, and whatever that equals to. In our case, we can just say resume view. Now we also have data Splitbee event type. So going back to this example here, the trigger toast is the event. The tailwind CSS or the themed or the top center, top right, all of those are the event type. So we can grab an event type also. So maybe for us, maybe for us, the Splitbee event could be button click, and the event type will be resume. That way, you can track all button clicks via this event, and only the resume click for this event. And there is one more step we need to do to make this work. Inside of document.js, we need a useEffect hook below this render to handle that event. So the code is going to look something like this. We have our useEffect hook here. We are adding and removing our event listener, and that event listener is the load event listener. And on load, we're going to handle state. Now that is a function that goes to here, and on the handle state, we are simply saying window.splitbee.track, and we don't want snippet helpful. I just copied this from another site I have. We want button click, just like that. And we should also import use effect from React. So that should all be working fine. If you try to run this locally, it will not work because the domain is localhost and not the domain that Splitbee knows. So you will have to push this up. So let me go ahead and push this. We'll call this event tracking. Alright guys, so those changes are now pushed and should be deployed. So if I give this page a refresh, so we see that button coming in, which is awesome. Now because I refreshed, we should also see, there we go, I'm back online. So if I go ahead and click view resume, nothing happens obviously, but there we go. So down here in Splitbee, you see button click, type resume. So that is pretty cool. And if we go to our analytics pane, need to give this a refresh, we see it inside of events. And we can use some cool filtering too. If I hit this here, I filter up here to only the users that have that event. In our case, every user. So a quick recap, we have Splitbee Analytics installed on our site, and we have an event where the user clicks a button and we capture that. So now that we have that event, let's go ahead and create an automation. To create an automation, simply hit create first automation, and we need an event, so that's why we created an event first. Or you could also do a page. So whenever a user lands on a page, you can track that. So for example, maybe when a user subscribes to your newsletter, they're redirected to a welcome page. You can track that page instead of the actual button click to subscribe to the newsletter. Anyways, we're going to use the button click event. We can add a delay, which is cool. So if you're going to send an email, maybe wait a day or an hour or something. But we're going to use the Notion database. So we need to first connect our Notion account, which is in settings, integrations. Go ahead and sign in with Notion. So after I allowed access to the pages I wanted to give Notion access to, it's now connected. So let's go back into automations. Might have to restart that. Button click, and there we go. So Notion database is now available to us. So the database that it is finding is actually a database for another automation I have for another site. So it's not finding anything else, and that's because we need to create it. So if you open up Notion, we're going to need to create a table. So I'm just going to create a table in line. So back here we can hit reload, and it should be able to, there we go. So it now picks up that new table. So we'll click button click, and it grabs both of the columns, which is cool. We have column and name. Those are these two columns here. So I can add whatever data I want. To get data, we're going to want to do 2 left parentheses, and then you can get all of this stuff here. So maybe I want to send the user ID, and maybe the user country name. And I can add more tables here. But for now, we only have those 2, so we can send this data. This isn't really doing anything, so this is just for learning purposes, so no need to send a bunch more data. But once we have that, we can choose if we want to run this only once per user. In our case, run it however many times. Let's title this automation, button click, and down at the bottom, let's create it. So there we go, the automation is now created. So if I go back into users, if I go back to the page, hit view resume. Here we go, I'm online. We see that automation, or we see that event coming through. Now if I go to automations, we have one execution. So I can see this is the timestamp for that, and here's the user ID. And you can always edit inside of here if you want to edit what data is actually being sent. But if we jump back into Notion, there we go. We see that data coming through. Remember, I sent the country, and I sent, what was this? The user ID. So that is how you add Splitbee analytics to your Next.js website, add events, and add automations. Now there's definitely a bunch more that Splitbee has to offer. So I encourage you guys to check it out, add it to your site, and play around with it. They have a very generous free tier. Up to 2,500 page views a month is 100% free, so no cost associated with it at all. I have been using Splitbee, like I said, for about 4 months now, specifically on this site here, coffeeclass.io. So if you haven't checked this out already, definitely be sure to check it out. This is why I haven't been posting too much in the last couple of months, mainly because I've been focused on working on this. But essentially what it is a programming tutorial website. So just like my YouTube channel is programming tutorials, so a bunch of stuff can be found on here. And I've actually done a tutorial on Splitbee Analytics about 3 months ago, connecting it to Next.js. So here that is. I'll link this down in the description as well. This tutorial just talks about adding the tracking tag, so this right here. So the very first part of this video, it doesn't go into any of the events or automations. That is the advanced usage, which is what we covered in this video. So I'll be sure to link this video in this snippet, but if you guys are watching this on YouTube, definitely be sure to check this out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and check out coffeeclass.io for a bunch more programming tutorial content.